CT200U mini bike assembly, pre-ride inspection, and starting instructions. Removal from carton. Open the mini bike carton and lay out all components, including the hardware bag, owner's manuals, and parts. To assemble the mini bike, place the main assembly on a stand such as a milk crate, jack, or bucket. Make sure the mini bike is stable and will not fall off during assembly. If possible, have another person hold the mini bike in place during assembly. Installing front fork assembly. The front fork assembly hardware includes the 10mm bolt, small 10mm washer, two large 10mm washers, and a 10mm lock nut. Lift the fork assembly up and place on the mini bike head tube. Attach the forks by pushing the 10mm bolt through the top bracket, then 10mm washer, then through the head tube. Place one of the large 10mm washers between the head tube and the lower bracket, then push the bolt through. Secure the full assembly by using the second large 10mm washer and 10mm lock nut. Make sure to tighten secure. Installing front rack and fender. Hardware for the front rack and fender include 4 8mm by 20mm bolts, 2 large 8mm washers, and 4 8mm lock nuts. Attach the front rack under the top bracket of the front fork assembly using 2 8mm by 20mm bolts and 2 8mm lock nuts. Do not fully tighten the bolts until the full rack and fender assembly is completed. Attach the front fender to the fender bracket and front rack using the remaining 2 8mm by 20mm bolts. Once the bolts are through the fender bracket and fender, secure the fender in place using the large 8mm washers and 8mm lock nuts. Go back and tighten all nuts and bolts on the assembly. Front wheel installation. Before installing the front wheel, make sure the arrow on the wheel faces forward. Attach the front wheel using the 12mm axle bolt. Insert the axle bolt through the fork, then place the 12mm washer between the fork and the wheel. Push the axle through. Then place the second 12mm washer between the wheel and the fork on the opposite side. Secure the axle in place using the 12mm lock nut. Clutch cover installation. Install the clutch cover by locking it in place by slipping it over the 4 metal attachment tabs. Zip tie together loose cables. Gather up the loose brake and throttle cables along with the ignition wire and zip tie to frame. Cut off the loose ends of the zip ties when attached. Turn the handlebars from side to side, making sure none of the cables or wires bind up. Pre-ride inspection. Pull in the brake lever and make sure the brakes are operating properly. If adjustment is needed, turn the brake adjustment nut clockwise for increased braking or counterclockwise for decreased braking. Then recheck. For minor adjustments, brake adjustment can be performed by adjusting the adjustment bolt on the handle assembly. Throttle grip inspection. Apply the throttle. Make sure the throttle grip as well as the linkage on the engine snaps back to idle when released. Chain tension. Push on the chain, making sure it is within the tightening specs noted in the owner's manual. If adjustment is needed, loosen the rear axle bolt. Adjust the chain with the chain adjustment nuts located on each side of the rear wheel. Make sure each side is adjusted the same as the other. Turning the nut clockwise will tighten the chain. Counterclockwise will loosen the chain. Check the chain tension when completed. Retighten the rear axle. After chain adjustment, the rear brake may also need to be adjusted to compensate for the rear axle movement. Inspect wiring. Make sure all wires are connected properly and are secure. Check to make sure all nuts and bolts are tight. Engine oil. Check the engine oil on the dipstick. If low, add the correct amount and grade of oil as listed in the owner's manual. Fill with unleaded gasoline. Fill with unleaded gasoline with an octane rating of 86 or higher. When reinstalling the gas cap, make sure the fill filter is aligned with the tab locations in the fuel tank and gas cap. Starting engine. Before attempting to start the engine on the mini bike, the operator should read and understand the owner's manual. The owner's manual has important information regarding safety as well as operation and maintenance procedures. The operator should always wear a helmet, eye protection, long sleeve shirt, over the ankle boots, and gloves while riding. Place the fuel valve to the on position. Place the choke lever to the on position. Depress the on-off button to the on position. Pull the pull start cord until the engine starts. Once the engine is warmed up, place the choke lever back to the off position. For questions regarding these instructions, please call Coleman Power Sports at 888-405-8725 or go to colemanpowered.com.